Let's take a look at the Mountaineer players that PFF graded out the highest from West Virginia's big rivalry win in the Backyard Brawl. Let's go. What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Apologies for the hoarse voice. As you can tell, it was an extremely awesome atmosphere at the Backyard Brawl in which West Virginia picked up their win. So bear with me as I try and get through the day with this hoarse voice. But it was well deserved and well worth it to see West Virginia defeat Pittsburgh. But before I get any further into this video, just want to give you guys a quick reminder, if you would, hit the like button on this video, give us a thumbs up. It'll really help not only its performance, but future videos performances here on the channel. And if you're a West Virginia fan, be sure hit that subscribe button. Helps us and it helps you, as it helps get more of this Mountaineer sports content out to Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, let's get into it. All right, I think it's more than fair to say that was a hell of a bounce back performance for the West Virginia defense, specifically the secondary, with all the criticism that they have taken. So let's start our player grades here on the defensive side, and let's talk a little bit about that secondary, as coming in at number 5 here in our top 5 highest graded players of the week for the second straight week, Malachi Ruffin. We saw him come in last week for Andrew Wilson-Lamp and do some good things at the cornerback position. This week in the Backyard Brawl, he was a starter at the position, and I thought he performed very well, coming out with a 73.2 defensive grade from PFF. And of course, the most impressive play, the standout play on the night, was the one there in the fourth quarter when the ball was tipped. He comes around the receiver, tips it back to himself with one hand, and catches the ball before he falls to the ground, giving West Virginia their third interception of the game in the Backyard Brawl. And I thought it was a great performance from Malachi Ruffin at the cornerback position to come out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer on defense at 73.2. Then at number 4, we have his cohort, Beanie Bishop. So how about both of the West Virginia starting cornerbacks being among the top 5 highest graded players on defense? That's awesome news for a West Virginia secondary that had been struggling prior to this game, but they really picked up the pace and did some good things in this game. Pittsburgh threw the ball 20 times, but only threw for 81 yards, and West Virginia forced 3 interceptions on those 20 passes. Beanie Bishop came up with one of those and a nice little return afterwards, and it is his second consecutive week coming up with an interception for the Mountaineers. We heard a lot about him being the team leader among the secondary and being a very aggressive player that they believed could come up with some turnovers for them this season. That has proved to be the case with 2 interceptions through West Virginia's first 3 games. Beanie Bishop is going to be a very important addition for this defense moving forward, and his transfer addition thus far is already paying dividends, forcing another turnover and coming out as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on defense in the Backyard Brawl with a 74.1 defensive grade. Then at number 3, how about another player in the West Virginia secondary? Yeah, that's right, 3 out of 5 players on this top 5 player grades for the defensive side coming from the secondary for West Virginia, and this time it's a returner that we were waiting to see make his debut this season, and that's Marcus Floyd. Played the cat safety position for West Virginia last year. We knew he would be making his return there this week, and he performed well in his return, as despite only playing 17 snaps, he really did still leave an impact on the game, not only because the 76.3 grade PFF gives him here, but the aforementioned Malachi Ruffin interception. He was the one that jumped in the air, nearly intercepted it himself, but tipped the ball up in the air for Malachi Ruffin to come up with that interception. So liked what I saw in the minimal action we saw from Marcus Floyd, and I'm sure he'll be incorporated more and more into the defensive game plan as we progress throughout the season. Now that he's back and healthy, and with his good health comes a good performance, coming out as a 76.3 defensive grade from PFF to be the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer in the Backyard Brawl. And number 2, how about Trey Lathan? He's put on an awesome performance thus far this season, playing that linebacker position alongside Lee Koba. I thought they've both had really standout moments, and Trey Lathan yet again grades out highly here according to PFF. As you see, 78.6 grade. Him and Koba being virtually interchangeable at the Mike and Will positions. Trey Lathan seems to line up at Mike more often than not thus far this season, and he's doing a great job there, pressuring the passer in pass coverage. He even nearly had an interception late in this game as well. So I really like what I've seen from Trey Lathan. He's really athletic and makes a ton of plays all over the field for this defense, and hopefully that continues throughout the season as he comes out as the 2nd highest graded Mountaineer on defense in the Backyard Brawl with a 78.6, and the number 1 graded Mountaineer on defense for the 2nd consecutive week Is he the same person that was number one on defense against Duquesne? Comes back and is number one on defense again against Pittsburgh. He's not seeing a ton of snaps, but when he is, he's making an impact. And that is nose tackle Fatorma Mulbo, the Penn State transfer. Comes out with a 79.8 defensive grade in this one for the Mountaineers. And like I said, not a ton of snaps, but he did get on 15. And a lot of those, he was clogging up the running lanes for Pittsburgh, doing a great job in run defense as he has throughout this season. And I think Fatorma Mulbo is going to continue to be a good weapon. West Virginia seems like they have some great defensive linemen there on the front there, not only at that nose tackle position, but across the board. The defensive line really performed well in this game. And Fatorma Mulbo yet again shows why he was a great addition for the Mountaineers from the transfer portal, coming in with great size and strength, and he shows it off in the backyard brawl, coming out as the highest graded Mountaineer on defense with a 79.8 defensive grade. So there's the highest graded Mountaineers on defense in what was certainly a defensive battle in this backyard brawl, but we were glad to see the Mountaineers come out on top, and they came out on top because their offense was able to put some points onto the board, get into the end zone some, unlike the Pittsburgh offense, who was completely held out of the end zone and shut out in this game, held only to field goals. West Virginia was able to manage a couple of touchdowns, and a lot of that credit goes to the offensive line in this game, and I think that reflects here in the player grades from PFF, as you see here. Number 5 for the Mountaineers on offense in the top 5, right tackle Doug Nestor coming out with a 66.8 grade there, and I thought that he did an admirable job, as did both the West Virginia tackles. West Virginia has shown the ability to run some stretch outside zone this season with pretty good success, and a lot of that is because those tackles set in the edge. Wyatt Milam on the left side and Doug Nestor on the right side. You see him coming out here with the 66.8 defensive grade, and then matching his 66.8 offensive grade is Zach Frazier, the West Virginia center. We know a ton about him and how great he has been and going to be for the West Virginia Mountaineers. I've said here on this channel, the Country Roads webcast, and will continue to profess that I believe he's the best center in all of college football, certainly the best in the Big 12 Conference, in my opinion, and he showed that again in this game. Pittsburgh was trying to sell out to stop the run, and West Virginia was still getting it done. The Hog Mollies up front for the Mountaineers really looked good this season. We heard throughout the offseason that this was going to be the best offensive line at West Virginia in quite some time. And through 3 games, I think they've really shown it, especially in this physical backyard brawl battle against Pittsburgh. Shout out to the offensive line for their performance, and that's why you see Doug Nestor and Zach Frazier as the 5th and 4th highest graded Mountaineers on offense with the 66.8 grades. But they weren't alone in leading the run game for West Virginia and allowing the Mountaineers to get into the end zone. How about the performance from the West Virginia tight ends in this game? And speaking of getting into the end zone, one of those tight ends was able to do just that for his first career touchdown at West Virginia, and that is Cole Taylor, the LSU transfer, the 6'7" pass catcher that's been very reliable for West Virginia, was actually the Mountaineers' leading receiver in this football game, but did some good things in the blocking side as well. Comes out with a 66.9 overall offensive grade. Likes a lot of the play designs they have for him. The touchdown pass on the little RPO play where he's out in the flats was great, and he got in the end zone there on that 7-yard touchdown pass from Nico. So I think Cole Taylor will continue to be a weapon for West Virginia as this year moves on. Like I said, led the team in receiving in this game. May not be the only game this season that he accomplishes that feat. I expect him to be heavily involved in the West Virginia passing game moving forward throughout the season, as he comes out as the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on offense with a 66.9 grade. And then right there in his same position group, how about Traylon Davis? This guy was doing an awesome job on the Mountaineer running attack, leading the way on a lot of these rushing plays for West Virginia. They used a lot of tight end motion in the running plays against Pitt, and it really worked out great. And Traylon Davis was doing a good job really leading the way in that run blocking aspect for West Virginia. He comes out with a 69.9 offensive grade to be the 2nd highest graded Mountaineer on offense. And I think West Virginia really has 2 great tight ends. They're going to continue to carry them to some success throughout this season, both in the passing game and making holes for this very successful West Virginia running game, as you see here, evidenced by both of them being in the top 3 highest graded offensive players according to PFF in this game, with Traylon Davis as the 2nd with the 69.9 overall grade, and the number 1 highest graded Mountaineer on offense in the backyard brawl victory. How about it? C.J. Donaldson, the West Virginia running back, looked like a workhorse in this game, was getting, 3 to 5 yards a pop, carrying defenders with him, bullying people at the goal line into the end zone on his rushing touchdown that he had in this game. And for the second consecutive season in the Backyard Brawl, he goes over 100 yards rushing against the Panthers. So you love to see that from a West Virginia player really showing up against Pittsburgh. That's awesome. And I think we've just seen the tip of the iceberg for CJ of how great he can be. He's going to continue to improve and continue to be an absolute force for West Virginia throughout this season. We just got to keep him healthy. No, he got banged up late in this game. Seems like he's going to be okay. I know I've seen him with the team in the huddle there, sprinting back and forth. They just didn't put him back in late. Didn't need to. Why not? Why risk injury again? Rest him. Let him be the workhorse you need for the remainder of the season, as he was in this game for West Virginia. 18 carries, 102 yards, and a touchdown, and that allows PFF to grade him as the highest Mountaineer on offense with a 75.0 offensive grade in the Backyard Brawl win over Pitt. So there you have it, Mountaineer Nation, the top 5 highest graded Mountaineers on both sides of the ball in the important Backyard Brawl win for West Virginia. So excited to see West Virginia get that rivalry win, as I'm sure all of you all are throughout Mountaineer Nation as well. But how are you feeling about the player grades following that victory for the Mountaineers? Be sure to let us know your thoughts down there in the comments. We really appreciate those interactions as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads webcast community throughout Mountaineer Nation. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.